What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be doing yet another comparison review. This time of the same beer from the New England Brewing Company, and they're out of Woodbridge, Connecticut, and we have their G-Bot and their G-Bot. So both of these are double IPAs that come in at 8.5% alcohol by volume, 85 IBUs, and at the time of review, this can is just over 2 months old, while this can is just under 4 months old. I'm going to give a huge thanks shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and a viewer of the channel, Rick, for hooking me up with both of these beers, so big thanks to him. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that Rick hooked me up with, and he sent me a bunch of beer. And a bunch of it was from the New England Brewing Company. And he sent me 2 cans of G-Bot. He sent me one that was relatively fresh, and then one that he said was drinking extremely well. It was like in its sweet spot. I think it was like, when he sent this one, it was like 3.5 months old, while this one was like 6.5 to 7 weeks old. And I don't think he anticipated me doing a like side-by-side comparison here, but I was gonna drink the older one off camera, but I was like, let's see the difference between the same beer with 2 months of age difference on it. I want to kind of see if there is any substantial bitterness, or bitterness. We'll see if the bitterness is different. We'll see what's going on with these. So let's give it a pour. Now, I also will mention that on the side here, it just says G-Bot is an intensely hopped double IPA with a blend of 3 varieties of American hops. On their website, though, it says it's brewed with, I think, Columbus, Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic. So I don't know if they changed the recipe from based on what their website said, or maybe one of them just got tossed out of there. And they also say, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. So the name of this beer used to be Gandhi-Bot, and they changed it for, I think, legal purposes. And as you can see, the Gandhi-Bot is holding up his hand there. Given the peace symbol, of course. But I've had this beer numerous times before when it used to be called Gandhi-Bot. We used to get New England Brewing Company stuff here in the West York area. Let me make sure these are the, so that's the fresher one, and this is the older one. We used to get them here back in like 2013, and then they kind of went away. They just came back, but I have not seen Gandhi-Bot, aka G-Bot, here in a long time. So I'm really glad he sent this my way. It'd be cool to do a little comparison here and see, hey, which one do I enjoy? Oh, this one's kind of exploding. All right, so we're gonna do the double pour here. Now I'm only gonna pour about half of it because I don't want to waste either of these beers if the cuvee sucks. And there's a chance that the cuvee does indeed suck. So we will throw these over here, and that is probably like, what, 5 or 6 ounces. So we will hold these up so you guys can see a better picture, so to speak, of the beer. So how do these look? They look very similar in person. This one's a little bit more vibrant. This one's a little bit more murky. I see a little bit more fine sediment in the one to your right. But they look very similar. They have that glowing honey orange color, very murky and turbid, about a finger, just over a finger of a super white, creamy looking head for both. I mean, if you look at them, they both have super creamy, like off-white heads. They almost look nitro-esque in how they are hanging out. And yeah, so we'll throw this one over here, and we're gonna nose on the relatively fresh one here. Okay, so just I don't know what just happened. Did I poop my pants? I may have. Did some other things happen? They may have. This smells like one of those just top tier old school Vermont / New England IPAs from like the mid 2010s, like the 2014, 15, 16 realm. Oh my God. It's just a melange of like stone fruits and tropical fruits. It's sweet, it's candied, but it's also like rindy from the citrus. Then there's this like piney, earthy kind of thing going on. Oh, it smells so fresh. It has a little bit of like a bready caramel kind of malt character, but very, very subdued. I should just smell this for a while. I wish this was like a air freshener, you know, like a car air freshener. Yeah, it's citrus. There's grapefruit, definite grapefruit, sweeter ruby red grapefruit. There's orange, there's like a cutie orange in there. There's overripened peach, mango, apricot, maybe a little bit of papaya. And then there's just a piney, resinous kind of tone to it. Like, you know, this is gonna have like a pine resin feel to it. And then it has like an earthy, almost floral-esque kind of hop note as well. Again, underlying bready caramel malt. Yeah, that smells fucking phenomenal. Like, I love this beer the first time I had it, and every single time after that. I've only had it maybe like a half dozen times in my life, but I remember really liking it. Wow, so again, 2 months, you know. If you come to my channel, I say this probably every other hop forward beer review. that I do. I'm not somebody who's a stickler for dates. Listen, we all want to drink fresh IPAs. We all want to drink fresh beer in general for the most part. But if somebody sends me a 2 or 3 month old IPA, or I pick one up at the store, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't drink that because 2 or 3 months old. Yeah, I'd much have it 2 or 3 weeks old, right? But you can't always get super fresh beer, especially if there's shelfies. And when somebody sends it to you, they try to pick up as fresh as they can, which Rick did here. So this is 2 months old, or just over 2 months, just under 4 months. I will tell you right now, though, between these two, there's a huge difference. This has remnants of what that is. Yeah, this is vibrant, this is fresh, this is in your face, this is subdued, this is subtle, this is dialed back. It still has the very similar notes. I think the citrus maybe is a little bit more heavy in this. It's more of like a orange juice, grapefruit juice. I think those stone fruits kind of take a back seat a little bit where they're more prevalent here. You still get the pine, a little bit of earthiness. But yeah, I mean, in terms of these two beers, how they look very similar, they are the same beer. They're just 2 months apart. This is substantially better than that nose-wise. I'll just be honest with you. Doesn't mean it's going to be taste-wise. And this is having that, to me, when I get an old IPA, sometimes, not all the time, but if I get like a 4+ month old IPA, a lot of times I'll get white bread with a little bit of like orange marmalade on it. And that's starting to happen here. It's not huge. It's not prevalent. It's not in my face, but it's starting to become a little bit noticeable. Orange marmalade on white bread. Anyway, let's smell the fresh one, or I mean, let's taste the fresh one first and see what we got. So cheers, everybody. Thanks again, Rick. It's a delicious, older school, you know, Vermont IPA, New England IPA, whatever you want to say. You know, they're out of Connecticut, so we'll say New England more so than Vermont, but it kind of has that old school New England IPA vibe to it. Body's higher side of medium, great for 8.5. The body's older school, so it has a nice smooth, creamy kind of mouthfeel, but it has like moderate carbonation. So by mouthfeel, really nice, and for what they're supposed to be, I think spot on. The taste, yeah, it's what the nose basically indicated. Up front, sweeter citrus fruit. It's red grapefruit, ruby red grapefruit, or pink grapefruit, and sweeter orange. Passes through, I get a little bit of that overripened, I would say more like a nectarine, or maybe even like an apricot as opposed to a peach or a mango. A little touch of like a pineapple too. As it continues on through, about 2/3 of the way through the palate, there's this resinous pine that hits, this earthiness, and this is moderately bitter with a semi-dry kind of finish. So this is very balanced, not too sweet, 8.5%. So a little bit of like that bready caramel malt thing, but it's not anywhere near noticeable as the nose. And the nose wasn't even that big, but this is more like focusing on the hops like typically these beers do. That's a really good beer. It's just a really good beer. Just brings me back to, you know, again, 7, 8, 9 years ago, drinking these beers and being like, oh, these are juicy and kind of fruity, but it still has like the soul of like a West Coast or old school American IPA. So was there much more to say? I do like that moderate bitterness and that like semi-dry finish. I think it's really nice. Alcohol, I can detect alcohol a little bit. The one thing a lot of these older school New England IPAs and double IPAs didn't do is hide the alcohol as well as they do nowadays. So I can tell this is like 8%. It's 8.5, so it hides it a little bit, but not extremely well. All right, time to see what we got going on here with the 4-month-old one. Cheers, everyone. Thanks again, Rick. Oh. I'm not going to say these are two completely different beers, but they're kind of different. That's how much the 2 months has made a difference. First thing I noticed about this one, the body's a little bit bigger at 4 months. Not sure what's up with that. It's like higher side of medium, lower side of full. So a touch, like one notch higher than that in terms of the viscosity of the beer. The mouthfeel, the carbonation is also a little bit less. While this is moderately carbonated, this is more mildly to moderate carbonated. Still both smooth and creamy, but this is a little bit softer on the palate. So body and mouthfeel, this might get the edge on this based on my preferences. This is probably more to style, and this is more to personal preference. The taste. The key thing about the taste here is this is a bit sweeter, less bitter, which you expect those hops dying down over a 2-month period. But it's also a little bit more subtle in the flavor. So this has everything this one has for the most part. There's citrus. There's this probably is more peachy than like the apricot nectarine. This is more peachy-esque. And the bitterness, while this is moderate, this is again mild to moderately bitter. This is moderate. And this just has a little bit overall sweetness. They're very similar overall in the flavors. It's just less intense in terms of the flavors and a little bit sweeter, which again, I think is my preference. Maybe not. Let me go back to this one. I think I might like that one a little bit more flavor-wise. The intensity of flavors, I think, win me over more so than it being a little less bitter. Okay, so between the two, body's thicker by a notch here. Mouthfeel's a little bit softer by a notch. It's a little bit sweeter, the older one, a little less bitter, but less flavor overall, less intensity of flavors. So if I wanted something to just drink for the flavor, like just a straight on flavor, forget body, forget mouthfeel, forget sweetness and bitterness, just tasting it, this wins. If I want everything else, this wins. What I can say is, despite these being the exact same beer with just 2 months of age difference on them, they are completely different experiences. They are. Like, if I was doing these side by side, I don't think I'd be able to tell they're the exact same beer. I would probably guess that if someone sent me two like this, but I would think someone's doing like a side by side of two beers from the same brewery that are similar ABV and maybe similar like hops or whatever. That said, I don't know which one I enjoy more. I think I'm not going to rate them separately just because, again, it's 2 months difference. I think I'm just giving them the same rating because they're not that inherently different that like I like one substantially more than the other. They're within like a 0.05 difference. So I am going to give a G-Bot, and we're just going to do the ratings for both. I will do the G-Bot here. I'm going to give G-Bot, I'm going to give this beer right here, which, again, the label's awesome. I love the name. They changed the name. They had to go to G-Bot. I get it. And it's cool that they did something different for the actual artwork. But I'm going to give this beer, I'm going to give this like a high 4.25. I'll go 4.35. I think back in the day, I used to give this around a 4.5. I mean, your palate changes. Maybe your thoughts of the beer change. This is very similar to what I remember it being, but maybe not as good as I remember it. But then again, that's just my memory. But a high 4.25, a 4.35 out of 5 is good for, this is, again, a very classic New England double IPA. Like back again, 10 years ago, everyone was like, oh, did you try Gandhi Pot? Oh, you just showed up here. And here we are 10 years later, and I still think very highly of this beer, and I know a lot of other folks do as well. So I'm going to just give a straight 4.35. If I had to pick and choose, I'd say 4.35, 4.3. Is that fair? I think it's pretty fair. So pretty much got the same. We're going to do the cuvee. We always do the cuvee here. Let's see these two mixed together, how it's going to be. I can't see it being bad or anything. Like they're very, they're the same beer, just with like some slight differences. So I think they're still going to be pretty good. So let's see here. Yeah, that looks like both of them for the most part. Super creamy head. Same. Let's get a nose. What the fuck just happened? Smells delicious. That is the best of both worlds. Not even, no question. It has the intensity, flavor-wise, or aroma-wise of this, with like the sweetness that I'm perceiving from this. Oh, it smells dynamite. Okay. I gotta taste it. Cheers, everyone. Thanks again, Rick. No. It's not bad. It's just, it didn't improve either. It actually took away. The biggest thing I can say about this cuvee, it just kind of dialed back the flavors even more so than this beer. They're kind of flat. Not the mouthfeel. I'm talking about the flavors. It made it a little bit more balanced from like the sweetness to bitterness. Is like a 50-50 split now. But the flavors just kind of flat. Like I get a little bit of citrus. I think more of the malt's coming to the fore. Like a little bit more bready caramel kind of malt. I think you get that like a 4 out of 5. That's why I didn't pour all of them in there, because I have probably 3 or 4 ounces left here. I'm glad I still have probably 6 to 8 ounces of each of these left, or at least, yeah, probably like 6 ounces, because I'm gonna enjoy these on their own, drink them over the next couple hours. I don't typically do things like this. Usually can't drink a couple beers, but today I was like, fuck it. And he sent me also their Imperial Stout Trooper, and then another good friend of mine, and fellow beer tuber, Steven, over at nowhere. He's not a beer tuber, but he's the resource, and he's a great friend. And he hooked me up with a lot of beer mails. He sent me the bourbon barrel aged version. I'm going to do a side-by-side of those at some point in the next month or so. Anyway, price point and availability. I think Rick said these are, I think, 15 or 16 bucks a 4-pack. Pretty good going rate for an 8.5% double IPA. You know, right in the realm. Same thing. If I would say if you buy like a hazy nowadays, it's like $20 a 4-pack for the same thing. So $16 a 4-pack for 12-ounce cans, probably in the same realm. And availability, I have no idea with this beer specifically in New England. We do see them here in Buffalo. I was just at the beer store. They had Super Knot, and they had one other beer that I never heard of before. So we do get slight distro here, but I have not seen G-Bot in a hot minute. Like, again, it's been probably like 7-8 years since I saw this beer. So huge thanks to Rick for this. Hopefully you guys enjoy this side-by-side of, again, 2 beers that are the exact same, with the difference being the age, right? And the age is not substantial. This is not like, you know, I've done other ones like Worldwide Stout where I did like a 2008 vintage and a 2019. It's a 11-year difference. This was a couple months, but it just goes to show you that yes, beers can change, especially hop-forward beers with a month or 2 of age difference. And this was very noticeable. It didn't change it in a bad way for me personally, but it definitely changed it. So if you've had this beer before, whether you had it super fresh or super old, or maybe you've ever did something like this, post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. As I always say with these comparison reviews, they're always, you know, a lot longer, usually like 20 minutes or so. So it is what it is. By now, most of you have probably shut this one off, but it is what it is. Anyway, huge thanks to Rick. Thanks to everybody stopping by. 8.5%. I don't know if I talked about the ABV for both of them, but with the Cuvée, you know, it's still noticeable, like a warming in the chest. No shirting out palate. So I think as a whole, these do an okay job hiding the ABV. It's not exactly 8.5, but you kind of know you're drinking a double IPA. So anyway, cheers everybody to the next one.